All right, are you tired of feeling stuck in a business that drains you instead of inspiring you? It's time to change that right now. So, today's episode is all about something that I know many of you are seeking: how to build a business that you love and that aligns with your passion and purpose. So, if you've ever wondered what's missing in your business, stay tuned because this conversation will give you the clarity and tools you need to move forward. Make sure to subscribe to our channel at Ritzel Rectra and like and share this video so everyone could benefit. All right, hey Pambam. Welcome back to another episode of Talking Business with Ritz, the show that humanizes entrepreneurship by showcasing the human behind the title before the offer. All right, so I'm your host, Ritzel Rectra, and I'm so excited to have an amazing guest with us today, someone who knows all about aligning business with what truly matters. She's going to walk us through her journey and share the steps that can help you build a business that brings both fulfillment and success. All right, let's start. All right, let's kick off the Know the Expert segment. Here we go. All right, so Dominiece Clifton is a powerhouse when it comes to helping women leave their 9 to 5 jobs and create businesses that reflect their passion and purpose. Okay, she is the founder of Move and Still and the creator of Transformation YOU-niversity, a program that helps women build purpose-driven businesses. So let me introduce to you, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Dominiece Clifton.
Hi,
Here we
Ritzel.
go. Hi, Dominiece. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing really well today. I slept. I got a lot of sleep last night, and so I'm feeling very alert and refreshed for our recording today. Sometimes I struggle with sleeping fully through the night, and so whenever I can, it's like something that I celebrate. So I'm feeling good. Thank you for asking, and thanks for having me.
All right. So now let's get to know the human behind the title. Are you ready, Dominice?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me change the angle. Here we go. Now, let's start with the first question. Who is Dominice Clifton as a person?
Hmm. I am someone who's always evolving and always learning. I have learned that I am a lifelong learner and I enjoy learning. And so I'm constantly trying to grow, trying to improve who I am as a being and evolve. I'm a very spiritual person. And so I'm not necessarily religious, but I'm very spiritual. I, believe in a higher power, and that belief is in so much of who I am as a person and also
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur. It's really the way that I conduct my life. And then outside of that, I would say that I'm a mother of 2 beautiful girls, Yara and Zuri, and they are really the inspiration for so much of what I do. My goal is to really just inspire them and show them that they can live limitless lives as they get older and they don't have to be confined by the ways that society often tries to box us in. I'm a daughter and sister. And so I wear all of those hats on a daily basis outside of my role as an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, that's who I am as I enter our conversation today.
All right, beautiful. Now, can you tell us a bit more about how you've started as an entrepreneurship coach?
Yeah. So my journey to entrepreneurship was almost just like kind of stumbling into the work that I am doing now. I was never planning to be an entrepreneur. It was never really something that I was exposed to growing up. And so I just knew the path of working a 9 to 5 and just thought that that was the way that, I was supposed to go. The little bit of an introduction I had to entrepreneurship came with my stepfather starting a cleaning business. And all I saw was the struggles that that came with that. And so I actually didn't like want to be an entrepreneur. Fast forward though, and life sometimes has its own plan for us. And so I started out in entrepreneurship about 5 years ago now as a nutrition and wellness coach. And so that was my introduction to entrepreneurship. But that was a journey that led to so much burnout. There was a lot of misalignment there. And so I continually was burning out and just working really hard. And I stepped away. I quit that business and stepped away to start Move And Still, which you briefly mentioned, and was, just totally fine on that path. That's a B2B business. I offer stress management and well-being services to organizations, and was doing that work and feeling fine and fulfilled in that lane. And then at the top of this year, again, I mentioned that I'm a very spiritual person. I started feeling that I was being led back to stepping into stepping into coaching, to really support women and guide women with all that I've learned over almost a decade now of my own personal development journey. And when I looked at, my career, my business career, my entrepreneurial journey, I have learned so much. I've read, hundreds of books, I would say at this time. I've just spent so many hours self-guided learning, investing in mentors and coaches and programs. I've compiled a ton of information, and I've also made a lot of mistakes. So I've done a lot of things wrong, and I've learned from those as well. So I've been through a lot of life school, and I realized that I love helping people to discover their passion and purpose, and that I could take that love and that desire to help women in that way, and not just help them to discover their purpose, but then to figure out, once they have this purpose, how they can take that and turn it into a profitable business. And so that's really what inspired me to step back into coaching as an entrepreneurship coach, is that I love the beginning phases of business when you're figuring things out and getting started. And I've done that several times on my own. And so I have a lot of experience there. And that is really my journey to entrepreneurship as a business coach, is recognizing that I have a wealth of knowledge, feeling called and inspired to share that with other women, and then feeling really passionate about helping women to figure out their own purpose so that they can turn that purpose, their passions, into something profitable for themselves and their families.
Right. And we're going to talk about all of that in the Learn from the Expert segment. So yeah, Dominiece, what's one key lesson you learned early on that, other online entrepreneurs should know?
Early on, I was investing in a lot of coaches and seeking a lot of help for my business, which I think was a great thing. But what I learned as I look back on those experiences were there were lots of parts of the mentorship and coaching that didn't feel aligned to me in the beginning. But I didn't trust myself enough to, or know myself even enough to, give myself permission to do things my own way. And I kept throwing spaghetti at the wall, essentially trying to make things work. So I would hire a coach. They would tell me what to do. They would tell me their strategy. And some parts of it felt okay, but some parts of it didn't feel good. Like sometimes my body would have a physical reaction to some of the things that I was being told to do. But I kept trying those tools and strategies and techniques, and all it did for me was make me work extra hard and make me work harder and burn out. And so the greatest piece of advice that I could have for someone, or I could offer to the version of myself that was at the start of the journey 5 years ago, is it's essential, I would say, to invest in mentorship and coaching to get help, because, you can shorten the time on things when you hire someone to help you who's already been on the journey. It can save a lot of time and frustration. However, you have to make sure that you find someone who's really aligned with who you are as a person. And so you have to know enough about yourself to know what feels good to you, what feels authentic to you, and then to find a coach that fits well with that. And I don't think that I did enough vetting in the beginning. And I hired a lot of coaches who had great intentions, but were not necessarily the best fit for me.
All right. That's very interesting, actually. Thank you for sharing. A lot of us had experienced that, and not only you, also me as well. No, sometimes you are right. You are right. There are a lot of learnings, or there are a lot of teachings from other coaches that really don't align with how you function, how you work. So it's very difficult. But once you found the one, then yes, it's gonna be like smooth sailing.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for the lightning round of questions. Are you ready, Dominiece?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Okay, now, first question in the lightning round of questions, of course. Short and simple, short and sweet. Okay, what's your favorite word and why?
My favorite word?
Yes, and why?
Mm. Uh, Gosh. Trust. Trust.
Trust.
Let's go with
Wow,
trust. Yes.
it's a
Because I
big
think
word.
it's such an important part of the life journey, but definitely the entrepreneurial journey is to trust the
Right,
process.
right, right. Okay, now, what's your favorite way to start the day?
Mm. I have what I call my sacred start. So similar to a morning routine, but I call it a sacred start because it feels like very sacred time for me. And so that's
Mhm.
meditation, that's, saying some prayers, reading some affirmations out loud, sometimes journaling. And I think regardless of if I follow that structure or not, the most important thing is starting my day with time with myself and time with my soul.
Right. Okay, now, what's one book that has changed your life?
Oh gosh, there's so many. The book that I would say propelled me to where I am today, that like got me started on the journey
Mhm,
7, almost 8 years ago now, was The Miracle
mhm.
Morning. And it's a book all about morning routines. And I started building who I am today. My transformation started as a result of a solid morning routine. And so for someone who's just getting started on the journey, I would say start with The Miracle Morning.
Miracle moment. Wow,
Miracle
interesting.
Morning. Hmm.
Miracle morning. Okay, thank
Hmm.
you. All right, now, cats or dogs?
I have a cat, so I'm going to go with cats.
All right, now, early bird or night owl?
Definitely an early bird. I start to shut down on energy around 8 p.m. And so I'm up early in the morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., getting my day started.
All right, now, what's something you love doing outside of work?
Mm. I'm working on this one. I realize that I need better habits and more work-life balance, because I am someone who, because my work doesn't feel like work, I can work at it for hours and just get lost in it. But
Yeah.
I love nature and being outside. And so whenever
Mhm.
I have free time, I will find a new hiking trail or revisit a favorite hiking trail. And so it's beneficial for my body because I'm moving my body, but it also helps with mental health and just clarity with life and business. And so hiking and nature is definitely a go-to for me.
Wow. All right, now, how would your friends describe you in 3 words?
Hmm. 3 words. Gosh.
Yeah.
Driven, I would
Driven,
say, determined,
determined,
and humorous. I like to think that
funny.
I make
Okay.
people, yeah, make people laugh, and we enjoy one another in that way.
All right. Okay, now next, a little bit more serious. Okay, pretend that you are talking to your younger self. What
Hmm.
advice would you give your younger self right now?
Whew. I would just tell the younger version of myself, whether we're talking about 10 years ago or like the child version of myself, that it is
Mhm.
okay to follow my own path. I think for so long, I was trying to make myself fit into the mold that I was programmed and conditioned to believe that I had to fit. And so I felt like I needed to be one thing. I felt like I needed to do one thing. And I've boxed myself in for a long time because of that. And so I would just go back and give a younger version of myself permission to be multifaceted, to not feel like I have to just be one thing,
Yeah.
and to allow myself to show up authentically as all of the parts of myself and not just one thing.
All right. That's awesome. Great advice.
Thank you.
All right, Sam Bam. We've gotten to know Dominice a little better. It's now time to tap into her expertise. All
Mm.
right. If you've been thinking about how to align your business with your passion or considering making that leap from your 9 to 5, if you are still in your 9 to 5, you won't want to miss what's coming up next.
Mm.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, amazing Pambams. We are now in the Learn from the Experts segment. So every entrepreneur dream of building a business, or every entrepreneur actually dream of building a business that not only brings success but also feels deeply aligned with who they are.
Mm.
So, but how do we make that dream a reality? Right? Let me flash it on the screen. Our topic for today is how to build a business you love, aligning passion and purpose. All right. So, Dominus,
Mhm.
what's the first step to building a business that truly reflects the passion and purpose?
The first step, I would say start with, I'm going to break this answer down into a few parts, but I would say starting with getting, the first step is starting with getting clear on your, what I call you, who, and how. So the you is getting clear on who you are as a person. And so that's really looking at understanding what your purpose is, understanding what your passions, your gifts, your skills, and your talents are, because those
Mhm.
parts of yourselves are going to be, they should be the parts of yourselves that you incorporate into your business. And so you have to really know who you are and be clear on that. The
Mhm.
second thing I would say with breaking this down is getting clear on your you. And so, I'm sorry, on your who. And when I talk about the who, it's who you're going to serve, getting really clear on who you're going to serve. And so that is conducting market research to identify your, well, once you've identified your target market, conduct market research to get really clear on who they are,
Mhm.
understand their problems, their pain points, so you can really address those things. And then
Yep.
think about how your UVP, which is your unique value proposition, thinking about what is going to set you aside from other people in the market that are doing something similar. And
Mhm.
the last part of that is the how. And that is really thinking about how you are going to serve and provide value to that ideal client. And so that's where your signature offer or offers come into play, and getting really clear on what you are going to offer to the world.
Right, right. So let's say that again. You, who, and how.
Yes, get clear on the you, who, and how as you're thinking about starting a business.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. So that first step is very, very crucial indeed. So once someone identifies their passion, right,
Mhm.
how can they ensure that their business model aligns with it while still being profitable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the most important thing here is one of the, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead too much, but one of the
Sure.
processes that has been really helpful for me and my clients is something that I've called discovering your zone of bliss. And essentially, that's a fancy way of saying, discover or how to find your purpose and how to really figure out, again, how to turn the purpose into a profitable business. So,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the first thing you have to do is you have to start with recognizing all of us have, regardless of who we are, we have a big idea, something that lights us up, something that we're thinking about. It could be
Hmm.
something that you're interested in that you've been kind of just doing on the side, or you've been interested in. And so you start with thinking about, what is my big idea? Like, what is the thing that keeps me up at night, that that I can't sleep about, that I've been thinking about for years maybe. That's the B in the zone of bliss. And then you go to thinking about all the things that light you up. So that's the L. So that's where you again start to look at your passions and the things that really bring you, when you think about them, you get excited about it. So you start
Hmm.
to think about all your passions and the things that light you up. And this is a process, a 5-step process that I guide my clients through, because once you go through this process, you become very clear on where the threads are in between these 5 steps, and you pull out what is the one idea that you want to start with. The
Hmm.
next step is looking at your innate gifts. And so that's the I. And innate gifts are our God given gifts. These are the gifts that we were born with. Some of us can sing really well. Some of us, can play the piano. It comes easy. Some of us are really organized and logistical and planners. Like, these are things that we were born with that we didn't really have to work hard for. You write all of those things down. This step can oftentimes be really hard for people, because sometimes it's hard for us to see ourselves fully. And so I always encourage my clients to
Yeah.
ask people around you that know you well. So whether that's a partner, family, friends, colleagues, ask the people around you that have seen you working, what are my gifts? What are my skills? And they will be able to help you here. The fourth step in the process is looking at your skills. And so these are all of the skill sets that you've acquired throughout your lifetime. These are not necessarily things, gifts that you were born with, but they are things that you've learned, acquired knowledge. So it could be expertise that you've learned on the job. It could be academia, where you've gone to college and, gotten a degree in something. These are all your skill sets. And so you list out all of those things. And
Right.
the last part of this, the final S, the fifth step, is thinking about what solutions can you offer to impact the world? So based on this big idea that you have, so maybe you're like, I want to help veterans, and that's the thing that you're really passionate about, or I want to work with moms. What are some solutions that you can offer based on your gifts, your skill sets, and your passions? And once you go through this process, you start to see, well, I can take this, thing that I'm really passionate about. I can use
Mm-hmm.
these gifts. There's a solution here that I can provide. And you think about now creating a signature offer that combines all of those parts. And so I would say when you are starting out, it's really important again to understand yourself and the value that you are going to be able to bring to the business, and then to
Right.
think about the clients or the target market that really gets you excited and lights you up, and to think about what pain points and problems that they have that you can offer a solution to based on your gifts, your skills, your passions.
Interesting. I agree. I agree. This is important because a lot of us, you entrepreneurs, are actually, we are bootstrappers. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? But with the steps that you mentioned, these are very, very good guidelines for us. To, especially those who are just starting.
Yeah.
So yeah. So do you want to add some more on that one?
No, I think that's the biggest thing. So well, yes, let me add some more. So once you go through this 5-step process, typically what happens is you'll go through this and you'll maybe have 2 or 3, sometimes more ideas that you are now like,
Mm,
oh, okay, I can do all of these things. And
yeah.
here is where it becomes important. So I have a rule of one. I have learned from my coaches, I should say, a rule of one. And a rule of one is really helping you to narrow down your focus. And so again, if you have 4 ideas, sometimes the mistake we make, especially as new business owners, is thinking that we have to do all of these things. The rule of
Mm-mm.
one says you start with one topic, one core message, you identify one problem or one pain point, and then one solution that you want to offer to that. You create one offer again, and then you do that thing consistently for 1 year with one marketing strategy. So one, right? So we're not, once you've said, I can do all of these things, now you're saying, well, where do I want to start? What is the thing that lights me up the most that I want to get started with? And so when I was re-entering my coaching business, I actually went through this process for myself. And based on my gifts, my skills, my passions, I knew that I wanted to work with women. I knew that I wanted to offer something that enhanced the lives of women. There were
Mhm.
4 or 5 ideas, Ritzel, when I moved through this process that I came up with.
Yeah.
I can
Mm.
offer international retreats, right? Because I'm great at planning and love traveling. When I looked at my passions, I could offer
Right.
some sort of wellness community or entrepreneurial community for women that brought them together to, help support them personally and professionally. I could offer coaching based on all of my business experience and skills and the lessons that I've learned. So I had 3 or 4 things that I could have started with. Sometimes,
Mm.
again, we make the mistake of thinking, I'm going to do all of these things. But jack of all trades, master of none is where most of us fail, because then we think that we have to do all of these things. But once I saw what the opportunities were for me, I picked one of those, which is what I'm doing now, which is Transformation University, my business coaching program. And so what
Right.
I've done is I've said, okay, I'm going to work with women. I got one audience. I'm going to solve one problem. I want to help women who are, at the start of their journeys and want to launch a business or maybe pivot into a more aligned business. What are their pain points? They're feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling a lack of purpose. They're feeling unclear. I
Mm.
can solve that. What's my one offer? I have a 12-week, 90-day coaching program that I'm offer. You also think about your one marketing strategy. So for me, podcasting is a great way to increase my visibility, and I send a daily newsletter, right? Those two kind of go
Mm.
hand in hand. And so
Right.
now it's just repeating this process over for a year. We can always add things in the process, but I think for
Mhm.
most people, especially at the beginning, because we are so unsure about where to start as entrepreneurs, we feel like we
Right.
have to do everything. And so we're trying to solve all the problems, we're trying to help all the people. And when you narrow in, when you really niche down and focus on just one thing, you have a greater impact, and you are able to offer value much, much greater than if you're trying to solve so many problems at one time.
Right. Right. So, what's your advice for entrepreneurs who already started, but
Hmm.
they don't start with one?
Yeah.
You see, sometimes it's like that. That's the reality.
Yeah.
People or entrepreneurs really starts with, I'm good with this and I'm good with this. I'm gonna
Yeah.
offer both, right? And then they have clients for this and they have clients for that,
Hmm.
and they're running on it. And
Mm-hmm.
then, if we say that, okay, so I have clients here, I have a client there, but I want to do this more. What will
Mm-hmm.
I do with my existing client there?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
Mm,
And that is, you're right. That is something that oftentimes we again get kind of stuck in this cycle of trying to do all the
yes,
things at
yes.
one time. The first thing I would say is if you are an existing entrepreneur and you are doing many things,
Yeah.
think about how you feel on a day-to-day basis, because oftentimes when you are doing many things you feel very scattered and spread very
Yes.
thin, and so that is oftentimes an indicator of perhaps you need to scale back. And so if you've already started a couple of different businesses, I would answer two questions. First, what is the one that I am most excited about, that lights me up the most, that I can, do and pour into and get lost in, and I don't have to think about it? Whatever that one is, I would say that's probably where you want to start. But then you also want to make sure that you are moving in the direction of the business that is profitable, right? And
Right,
sustainable.
right,
Like, you want to make sure that the business plan is viable. And so if you are managing multiple things, you want to look at, again, what feels good, what feels aligned for me, what am I most excited about, and then what is the viable business option. There might need to be some tweaking and restructuring to, merge things together, right? Like maybe there's some
right.
merging that needs to happen. But I often find, again, that when we are, if you think about serving as giving of energy, when you're doing 2 and 3 businesses, and I can speak on this because I've done this, I've been
Yeah,
doing,
yeah.
multiple things. And so I speak from a space of experience with burnout. When you're giving and spread thin in so many spaces, and you're giving energy here, and you're trying to serve this client and you're trying to serve that client, you feel scattered. When you allow yourself to narrow in and just really focus on one thing and focus on delivering of high value to that one area, then you
Mm-hmm.
start to feel more clear, right? Like you have more clarity. You don't feel the burnout that you typically feel starts to mitigate itself as you begin to take better care of yourself, because now you have more time. And so
Mm-hmm.
it is hard if you have, multiple businesses going. But again, I think about, like, how do you want the journey to feel? Can you see yourself continuing with the same direction and path that you're doing now for 5 years, 10 years? Because entrepreneurship it's a long haul, right?
Yes,
Can you
true.
see yourself sustaining at the pace that you are for the next 5 or 10 years? And if your answer is like, there's no way I can survive at this pace, then that is an indication of the fact that you might need to scale back and figure out how you can maybe take parts of the other business and maybe weave them in here and offer
Mm-hmm.
value to one client, offer high value to one client in one place.
Right, that makes sense. All right, now we jump to the next question. Dominique, how do you help your clients discover the deeper why behind their business? Because you mentioned, right, our segue question about having multiple offers, right? So why is that important of staying, for staying motivated, this deeper why?
That's such a great question. I have I have this assignment that I have my clients do, and this is for any goal. It's not just for setting business, but I think that having a purpose behind any goal that you set is super important, because it connects your goal to something deeper. And so let's just say you're talking about weight loss, and it's like, I want to lose 10 pounds, right? And it's just like, but why do you want to lose that 10 pounds? And it's just like, if your goal, if your why is something like, well, I want to, look good or fit these jeans, when you don't feel motivated, that's not really going to be the thing that gets you out of bed to take the action that you need to take. But if you allow yourself to go deeper and say, well, I want to lose this weight because maybe I'm borderline high cholesterol or a borderline diabetic, and if I lose this weight, it's going to help me to not have to go down that path and to start taking medication. That deeper why is actually going to motivate you a lot more. And so thinking about that in the context of business, if you start with a vain why, I want to build a business because I want to have 10K months. It's like, sure, that's a goal that a lot of us start out with,
Right,
like those
right,
sorts of
right.
goals. But when you don't feel like doing it, that is not a deep enough why to necessarily motivate you to show up when things are hard, or you haven't had a good week or a good month in business, those sorts of things. But if you allow yourself to kind of keep chipping down on that why and saying, well, why
Mm-hmm.
is this important? Why is this important? When you get to that underlying why, that deeper why, that is going to be the thing that motivates you when the business isn't going the way that you want it to go. So when I first started out as a coach, I just wanted to get coaching client. I mean, when I first started out in business, I just wanted to get clients because I wanted money. And it's just like, that's great, right? But that doesn't motivate you. Again, when you're not getting that, it doesn't motivate you to keep going. And so my why today is really understanding that I am doing purpose-driven work and I want to impact and change people's lives. Like I feel like the service, I should say, that I have offered, that I have created is so all encompassing that it will enhance the lives of every woman that I touch. It's going to enhance her on a personal level. It's going to enhance her on a professional level. And when I don't feel like doing things, I think about where I was at the start of my journey 5 years ago, 7 years ago, and what I needed. And I think about the woman who's praying for that right now. And that is what gets me up every day and makes me keep going when business is hard and when it feels tough. And so regardless of, again, what the goal is, you have to have a deeper why, because motivation is fleeting. It comes and it goes. But when you have a deeper why, that's going to be the thing that keeps you going when you don't feel like it, because sometimes you won't feel like it, right? And so when you're connected at the beginning with something clearer, with something deeper, with something purpose-driven, that's going to keep you going for the long haul. That's going to be what sustains you.
All right. This is definitely a mic drop takeaway. So without the why, we are really like, a boat in a big ocean that just keeps floating. On floating.
Yeah. Such a good analogy. Yeah. And your why, going with that, going a little bit deeper, your why becomes your anchor. Exactly. Your why becomes your anchor. It becomes the thing that keeps you going, right? Keeps you centered in the midst of life happening and business happening, because those things are going to happen, right?
Right, exactly. All right, now let's talk about mindset. So what role does mindset play in building a purpose-driven business, and how can entrepreneurs overcome, self-doubt along the way?
These are such great questions, Ritzel. Thank you for this interview. Mindset is everything. Mindset is like everything. So the one thing that I would say that was such a gift for me when I started out as an entrepreneur and invested in my first business coach is that I started with a mindset business coach. And I didn't realize until years later how much that helped me on my journey, because he taught us business strategies, but he also helped us to understand our minds, our subconscious thinking, our paradigms. He's amazing. His name is Rob Dial, and he still offers coaching. And he has a podcast called The Mindset Mentor. But I didn't know that that's what I needed at the time. But once I started to understand my subconscious thinking and I started to be able to become aware of my beliefs and patterns, I started to see the ways that subconsciously I was holding myself back. So the way that the subconscious mind works is that we have our subconscious mind and we have our conscious mind. The subconscious mind really drives somewhere between like 90 to, let's just say, 95% of our behavior. Right. So almost all of what we do is autopilot. It's subconscious thinking, behaviors, beliefs that oftentimes we've built in our childhood. And then somewhere around maybe 3%, 5% of our thinking is conscious. So you can consciously set a goal and say, I want to build a business. I want to, make 10K a month. I want to lose 40 pounds. Like you can consciously set that goal and genuinely want to do that thing. But if subconsciously the behaviors that are required feel like a threat to achieve this goal, you're going to self-sabotage. And so in the beginning for me, I had goals, right? Like I want to build a successful coaching business. But then what was required of me to do that? It required me to show up consistently. It required me to put myself out in front of the world. It required me to, do things that had not been a part of my norm, do things that were uncomfortable and were going to allow me to be seen in a way that I had never been seen. And those behaviors were threatening to my comfort zone, right? Which was threatening to my subconscious mindset. And so I had the best of intentions as a new coach, and I would listen to the things that my business coaches were telling me, go live on social media, do all of these things. And I would self-sabotage every time because of fear. And what I had to learn was that business strategies, like we can talk about business strategies, those things are extremely important. But you can
Yes.
have all the business strategies in the world and still get stuck in inaction because of your mindset. And so the
Right.
greatest
Right.
thing we can do as entrepreneurs is make sure that we are working on our mindsets consistently. And what that means is, I would say two things that I can offer. The first thing is practicing meditation consistently, because
Mm-hmm.
meditation is what builds more mindfulness. Meditation allows you to start becoming aware and to see the destructive patterns that you have, or the patterns that are not helpful for your goals. When you aren't aware, you can't change anything. So meditation helps with
True.
that process.
True.
And then the second thing is doing daily mindset work. And so that's feeding your mind daily with inspirational and instructional content, being mindful about what you're taking in. So instead
Mm-hmm.
of social media and TV and listening to things that are not helpful for you, listen to
Right.
content that's going to help you grow. Listen to content that's going to help you get closer to your dreams and goals, and be intentional about that every day. And that process of meditating and taking in instructional and inspirational content is going to
Mm-hmm.
help with the mindset shifts that are required for you to show up as the business owner that you need to be successful.
Nicely said.
Yeah,
So really, mindset really is everything,
it's
and it's
everything.
right. It's one thing, as you've said, it's one thing to have the strategy, but having the confidence to see it through is
Yes,
a whole other challenge.
yes, absolutely.
All right, so that wraps up our Learn from the Expert
Mm.
segment, and now we're opening the floor to you, Bam Bam. It's time for the Q&A segment, where we'll answer some of the questions that I've collected. Okay, so let's see what's um, on your mind. Let's go. Where's my segment title? Okay, let's play that. All right, here we go. Let's start with the first question. So, what's a small step? I know we've talked about a lot
Mhm.
already, but what is a small step that this is a question I can take today to start aligning my business with my passion? So,
Mm.
this question from one of my friends.
The first step you can take today is starting to identify your purpose and passions. And so I've talked through those 5 steps, but if it was just one step, start looking at the things that you are excited about, the things that light you up, and then start to think about your gifts and your skills, because what you want to do is build a business around those things. So this could literally be sitting down with a pen and a journal and
Right.
writing down purpose, and writing down passions, and writing down all of the things that you're excited about. It could be cooking, it could be hiking, it could be swimming, it could be fitness. Write down
Mm.
all the things that you're passionate about, the things that light you up. And then the second part of that, I would say, is to think about your gifts and skills. So what are the things that you're good at? Once you
Mhm.
identify those two, you'll be able to see from there how you can take that and begin to extract some business ideas from that process.
Right. Thank you. So, my friend, that's the answer to your question. If you want more explanation, go watch the replay. Learn from the expert segment. All right. We jump to the next question. All right. How can I tell if I'm chasing a business idea that isn't right for me?
Mm, such a good question. This goes back to what we talked about earlier with how does it feel, right? We are very there's the mind, which does a lot of thinking, and then there's the feeling of something. So sometimes we can be thinking, well, I'm doing all the things that I've, learned to do or have been
Mhm.
told to do, but how does it feel? If it doesn't feel aligned, you can know when it doesn't feel aligned. Like misalignment feels like when you're unhappy, or you feel again unfulfilled, when you have a void in your life and you're trying to fill that with other things. It feels like a lack of clarity. So if you're always confused and overwhelmed in your business, then that might be an indication of a misalignment. Another thing is that oftentimes you feel like an imposter. So if you're doing the business every day and you're not confident in it, and you're showing up in spaces or struggling to show up in spaces because you feel like an imposter, and you're
Right.
struggling with imposter syndrome, that could also be an indication of misalignment. So pay attention to how it feels. If every day in your business it feels like you're swimming upstream and it feels
Mhm.
hard, like you're fighting against the tide, those are all symptoms of something being off. And so sometimes those might just be small tweaks and pivots in the way that you're doing business. But in my case, when I started out in the beginning as a nutrition and wellness coach, I was feeling all of these things. And for me, I realized that I wasn't in a business that was necessarily aligned to what was, I would say, my purpose at the time. I did something that was easy for me to get started with, but it wasn't my purpose. I wanted to help women, but not in that way. And that was an important indicator of the fact that I needed to do something different. And, again, energy, like if you have to work super hard, that's going to be exerting a lot of energy and you're going to burn out. So pay attention to how it feels.
Right. Thank you for that answer. Now, how do you wait, let me flash the next question. What do you recommend for someone who feels overwhelmed by balancing their 9 to 5 and building a new business? Supposedly, yeah.
Such a good question. So the first thing I want to say is go back to what I talk about with the rule of one. If you are balancing a 9 to 5 and trying to do many things, what can you pause on for right now just to focus on doing one thing really well? It doesn't serve you or your clients if you are trying to be a jack of all trades, but you are a master at none. You're just thinly giving in all the spaces. And so if you're already managing a 9 to 5, that takes up a big bulk of your day. You want to make sure that you're just focused on one business, one goal, and working on doing that one really well. Do that one for a year and then see if you can add from there. The last part of this question is to make sure that you are prioritizing your personal well-being in the midst of building a business. So I have a daily practice that I've been practicing for almost 5 years, where I make sure that in the midst of being a very busy business owner and a mama, I am also pouring into myself daily, mind, body, and spirit. And that is only an hour out of my day that I give to myself. But what it has done over the last couple of years of showing up consistently and pouring into myself is that it has given me a greater capacity as an entrepreneur. So I have days that are tough, of course. I have, moments that are stressful, but I haven't burned out in years because I'm pouring into myself and I'm filling my cup every day. And so you have to make sure that you are replenishing your own cup as you are giving out and serving the world.
Right. So what do you advise for those who are trying to refill their cup, but feeling guilty about it?
Yeah, well, that goes back to mindset, right? Anytime you are feeling guilt for prioritizing yourself, you have to have a look at your mindset and the beliefs that you have and the ways that you've been programmed and conditioned by society to feel like it is wrong to care for yourself, right? Because that's what guilt is. It is wrong for me to care for myself in the midst of all of these other things. So we give to our jobs, we give to our children, we give to our partners, and we do those things willingly. But we've been taught and conditioned to believe that taking care of ourselves and taking time for ourselves is not okay. And so if any guilt comes, I have no guilt around self-care because I've done a lot of work to unlearn that belief. And so guilt is an indication of a subconscious belief, especially for women. This is important because we're taught to be nurturers and to give to other people. And so anytime you feel guilt, that's an indication of some mindset work that has to happen, because essentially what has to happen is that you have to shift from thinking that you get the leftovers of whatever is left at the end of the day. And you have to flip that thinking and recognize that if I pour into myself first, I am a greater mother. I am a greater professional. I am a greater business owner, a greater partner, because I have given to myself first. If you, again, save yourself for last, you're just getting the bottom drops of whatever's left over, which is what leads to overwhelm, burnout, not feeling good about whatever you are doing. So the guilt there is definitely a mindset shift, some mindset work that has to happen.
Right. So while you're saying that, it reminded me of this saying that you cannot give what you do not have.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. All right. Now, I think we'll stop with this question. How do I know if it's the right time to leave my 9 to 5 and go all in on my business?
Yeah. How does it feel? Going back to how it feels, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that misalignment or maybe time to pivot and create a different strategy, create an exit strategy comes up. but I'm going to just keep harping on feeling, right? Like we have learned to ignore our feeling. Our feelings are intuitive. We will feel something and then logically we'll try to talk ourselves out of that. But if every day you feel a certain thing, that is an indication of maybe it's time to do something different, or maybe there's some misalignment here. So the first thing is, and I'm speaking from my own experience, if you wake up every day and you dread getting out of bed, that right there is an indication of, I might need to do something different. That could be true for your 9 to 5 or your business. You should wake up every day feeling excited about the work that you are doing. And so if you are constantly hitting the snooze button and fighting with the internal voice that's saying, I don't want to get out of bed, that feeling is telling you that it's time to do something different. When it comes to your 9 to 5, there are a few things that are oftentimes an indicator of a time to create an exit strategy and maybe shift in your career or start a business. Lack of growth opportunities. So if you're at a space where you've been doing the same thing for a long time and you don't see, you can't add anything to your plate, you've kind of hit a ceiling with where you can go. That's an indicator. Mismatch in values or company culture. This was a big one for me in my previous roles. And so either the values aren't aligned or you are feeling undervalued. I was someone who always had to advocate for better pay and better benefits, like things that, should come and be a given because I'm giving so much and offering so much value, but I wasn't getting that same value in return. And so if there's a mismatch in values or you are not feeling valued in a role, might be time to do something different. If you feel stagnant in your role, so I talk to people all the time that can do the thing, right? Like you've been doing this work for a long time, you can do it, but it's not exciting. You kind of just feel stuck. You go into work every day and it's just this routine that you've built, but again, it's not exciting. That stagnation can be an indicator that it might be time to do something different. And then just a consistent lack of fulfillment. So being on autopilot, going to work, snoozing to get out of bed every day, going to work every day, coming home, having a few hours with your family, getting in bed, doing it all over, and just being stuck in this routine where there's nothing exciting and there's this constant kind of underlying lack of unfulfillment or dissatisfaction. Those are all indicators that I might have to start now thinking about an exit strategy. And the last thing I'll say here is that in the world of social media, we often get this message of quit your job tomorrow and start a business. I actually don't advocate for that. I've done it and I don't suggest it. I am all about having a plan, like creating an exit plan, creating a strategy. And so if you're feeling these things, this is the point where you want to, again, start thinking about the things that we've talked about in this conversation. Well, how do I take the things that I love and enjoy and turn them into a profitable business, right? Like, how do I take my passions and make money off of them? And this is a great opportunity if you're at that space in your life to really pause and take a moment to start figuring out what that looks like. Again, for most of us, we have families, we have bills, we have priorities. It is irresponsible, I would say, for most of us at this age to just up and quit. But that doesn't mean staying stuck in a situation that doesn't feel good. That means becoming intentional about putting a plan into place and perhaps setting out a timeline of 12 months from now, once I've matched my income, I'll leave, or, whatever that looks like for you. But definitely creating a plan and not just continuing to go with the status quo and go with the flow if you're not happy there.
Wow. We have more questions, but in the interest of time, we'll wrap up our Q&A here. But can I just say this? This is an amazing conversation.
Thank you.
And it deserves this. Very, very interesting and very insightful expert interview. Thank you very much, Denise. And so now let's continue with the next segment. Here we go. All right, welcome back. Fantastic. Bam, bam. There's so much to take away from Dominice's wisdom. So one key takeaway from today's segment is that, building a business you love, start with identifying your unique strengths and aligning them with your business goal, right? Just summing it up from what I understand. So what about you, Bam Bam? What's one step you'll take today to align your business with your passion? So drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. All right, now Dominique, thank you so much for sharing such
Mm.
valuable insights with us today. And I know that your approach to aligning business with passion has sparked some big ideas for many
Mm.
of us watching. I know I am. You
Mm.
know, the rule of one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now, let's talk about how our viewers can connect with you and work with you moving forward. Can you share more about this Transformation University program?
Yes, thank you for asking. So, I again offer a 90-day coaching program for women that are aspiring entrepreneurs. And so, if you're working a 9 to 5 right now and this conversation really resonated with you and you saw yourself in, parts of the place that we talked about with misalignment, I have
Mhm.
a 90-day coaching program that is designed to help you go through exactly what we discussed today, figuring out passions and purpose and how you can turn those into a profitable business, but then also supporting you in creating an action plan and an exit strategy to walk away from your 9 to 5 that is unfulfilling for you. I also, with this coaching program, really support women that are early stage entrepreneurs. So perhaps you are already in entrepreneurship and you're in those
Mhm.
first 1 to 3 years of business, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel aligned. You're doing something that is causing you to burn out or you're feeling overwhelmed by it. This is a great time to take a step back and to think about how to really create an aligned business that is able to have massive impact in the world. And so both of those clients really do well in my coaching program, Transformation University. And so if you want to learn more about Transformation University and set up a call for me to share for you to share more with me about your goals, you can go to my website, domrclifton.com, and you'll see there's a coaching tab and you can click that and learn more about the program. And then the last thing I'll say here is that if you are curious about that process of going through those 5 steps to discover your purpose, I've termed
Mhm.
that discovering your zone of bliss. It's really a discovering your purpose. And then again, figuring out what you can offer to the world, what solution you can offer. You can go to Zone of Bliss.com and download a free guide that's going to walk you through this exact process that we've talked about today. And you will be able to, by the end of this process, come up with 2, 3, 4 ideas for businesses that you can start. And then from there, you want to pick out the one that you want to start with pursuing and start to, create an exciting business that can offer great value to the world.
Wow, interesting. I'm gonna head on and try that after this interview. All right, how can they reach you aside from the website that is running below?
Yes. So my website is my greatest place because I actually do a daily newsletter. And so
Oh,
that's like, I would say, my pride and joy. I am on social media, but I'm not on there as much. My community is really built with my email list and then some of the other opportunities that I share in that community. If
mm-hmm.
you enjoyed our conversation today, these are the type of things that I'm sending out in email: how to discover your purpose, tips for starting a business, tips for growing your business, like, how to balance your personal and professional lives. Every day there's a new topic. And so I would definitely encourage you to stay connected by going to my website, subscribing to my newsletter, and every day you'll get a short, quick newsletter snippet delivered to your inbox. Outside of that, I am on social media, so you can connect with me there. Instagram and LinkedIn as Dominiece R. Clifton. And I'm sure you'll put those in the show notes because my name is kind of long. Oh, it's already there.
Facebook,
Awesome. Yes, yes. Facebook,
LinkedIn.
Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Wow.
Wonderful.
All right, there you go. So that's amazing. So, Bam Bam, if you're ready to take the next step toward building a business that that's aligned to your with your purpose,
Mhm.
don't miss out on the chance to work with Dominique here through her Transformation University program.
Mhm.
She is truly committed, as far as I'm concerned, to help entrepreneurs like you to thrive. All right. Now, Dominic, as we close out, what's one piece of advice or wisdom you'd like to leave our Bam Bam with today?
Hmm. What's coming to my heart at this moment is recognizing that you don't have to stay in a life or a business or a job that doesn't feel good to you because you think that, well, I guess this is it. This is as good as it gets. You deserve to live a life that brings you joy, and you deserve to have a business or career that brings you passion and fulfills you. And so if what we were discussing resonated with you and you recognize yourself in some of those signs of misalignment or maybe signs that it's time to create an exit strategy, don't just feel stuck. Like, know that you have the power to create the life that you desire. It does take work, it takes action, it takes clarity, but you can definitely do it. And so after this call today, like I mean this conversation today, really sit and think about what is one step I can take today to begin to get on a path that feels more aligned and feels better and feels good to me.
Wow, that's such a powerful reminder. Thank you for sharing that. It's definitely something we can all take to heart,
Mm,
Dominique.
thank you. Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Dominique. You've inspired us with a lot of actionable insights. And I know our viewers or our fambams today are excited to start aligning their business also with their passion. So, again, thank you for being here and hope to have you once again. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Dominiece Clifton. All right, coming up next in Talking Business with Ritz. So, we will be talking about conversion, how to create more clients without focusing on visibility alone. So, mark your calendar on October 19 at 11 a.m. Eastern. Again, DM your questions to be included in the Q&A segment. All right, now here we go. Remember here at Talking Business with Ritz, Bam, it's all about humanizing entrepreneurship. Every entrepreneur's journey is different and every story matters. So thank you to everyone who are watching right now. If you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe, hit that subscribe button to the channel so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And be sure to join us for our next episode so you won't want to miss it. So until next time, stay inspired and keep pushing forward. This is Ritzel Rectra and our expert guest, Miss Dominiece Clifton.
Mhm.
Safe and healthy as we continue talking business with Ritz. Bye, everybody.
Mhm.